I'd like to welcome everyone to today's regular board meeting for the Board of Trustees for the Sequoia Community College District. Today is Monday, June 8th. And before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I have two items I'd like to report from closed session. The first, the board voted unanimously to, in the consideration of expulsion for a student with banner ID 0040560, the board voted unanimously to accept that or to expel that student. Additionally, the board unanimously voted for consideration of the student expulsion for the student with banner ID 00334407, voted to expel that student as well. With that, please rise and help me. Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. At this time, we've entered a public comment per Board Policy 2350. Any person may address the board at this time either on an agenda item or other matters of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. A maximum of 5 minutes is allowed for each speaker, with a maximum time of 15 minutes per item unless otherwise extended by the board. At this time, I'd like to invite anyone who would wish to make public comment concerning items on the agenda. Not seeing none. I'd like to invite anyone who'd like to make public comment concerning items not on the agenda. Okay. Just a quick comment, when we do look at other items up for action, I will, there is an opportunity for the public to make any comment they wish to make during those items as well. Next, board and executive staff, no report from our student trustee. Board member reports. Trustee Diaz.
No report.
Trustee Aguilar.
Quickly, yes, I was able to, on the 13th of May, attend the Physical Therapist Assistant Program pinning ceremony here at the theater. And what was really noted to me is the connection and the relationship that program has between the faculty and the staff and the students. It was just felt like a family environment, and the family and the friends that were there to support that ceremony were fantastic. And it was really neat to participate in it for my first type of ceremony such as that, and so I really enjoyed it. And then also being at the graduation the following week there at the Bowl, just a big shout out and thank you to everyone that was involved in putting that together. It was so efficient. Dr. Calvin, I had over 1,300 smiles to give in terms of all his photographs with students. It was just amazing. And one thing that stood out for me as being a former middle school principal at Divisadero and a high school principal at Mount Whitney, there were several students that I got to see when I handed them their 8th grade promotion certificate, and being there at their high school graduation and their diploma, and then seeing them get their actual AA degree. And actually a few of the students, I actually got to give them their AA degree. So I was involved in 3 events and their milestones of success as students. And so for me, that was really a nice, proud moment to see those students continue on in their education. So that was a lot of fun for me. And that's my report.
Practically, they can't get away from you.
No, it was fun.
That's excellent. Trustee Nunes.
Yeah, graduation as well. What a pleasure it is to attend those 2 sessions every year, and all those students participating in the process of going through the graduation ceremony, and the supporting staff, the band that plays, all the video folks and everything. It just doesn't happen by itself. There's a lot of coordination that takes place, and you guys have done it very well. Just one comment, possibly the exit route at the second ceremony got a little hectic, I think, when everybody was being directed to one exit, so maybe that's something to think about.
We've talked about that. We did a bit of a a debrief the next day. We're under a little bit of pressure to exit the bowl quicker than in the past. And so at 5 o'clock, it worked fine to keep folks off the grass and escort them out. At 8 o'clock, it didn't get out till 9:30 or so. I think people weren't rushing to dinner. And then there were some food vendors that were up in that parking lot.
Oh, there were, yeah.
And it had all the makings of a party that was going to go all night long. So we got to rethink that. I think we're going to need to get people down on the grass, and everybody needs at least a half an hour, 45 minutes with their loved ones before they've got to go move on to other places. So we'll have to rethink that. I was sitting there in my car for at least 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. I didn't want to cause a scene. I didn't want people jumping on my hood, so I waited them out.
And just to follow up to Trustee Aguilar on the physical therapy assistant, I've had the opportunity to go through some PT in Tulare, and I can't tell you how many of the young assistants at that facility that I ask about, and most of them have come through the COS program, so that's really good to see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Lane?
Was able to attend the pharmacy tech graduation in Penning and graduation as well, and I echo the comments of a very well run and organized graduation. So thank you for all involved.
I also would like to thank all those that are involved in coordinating such an amazing event for our students. It has to be there's a lot of great things that happen at COS, but one of the things that makes me the most proud to be representing COS, there are students' smiles and faces, and all the families that stand behind them, the accomplishment that they're accepting. I know not all students walk, but a lot of families are very proud of their students, and I know that each student is proud to have a degree from COS, and it's an honor for me to be able to shake their hand, congratulate them on all the work that they've done over several semesters to accomplish that goal. And so it's for some are going into the workforce, and that's fantastic. Some are continuing to higher education, and I love being part of that moment for them as they journey to their next path. So thank you very much. Next, Mr. Foster, invite you to share a foundation report.
Thank you, Trustee. Right now, I don't have a report.
No report, okay. Dr. Wilcoxon, accreditation report.
No report. We're still doing good.
Wonderful.
That's a report. That's a report. Yeah, you're good.
We're gonna get 8 years of that from you? That was it.
Dr. Calvin, Superintendent President's report.
Okay. Don't act too surprised, but I put together a little PowerPoint. And I'm not known for being the most technology savvy person, but just wanted to, I figured it's the last board meeting of the 2025-26 school year. So I thought we'd just run through, and I'm going to go through these quick. And so if you have a question on any of these, just stop me or write down a note and ask me about it. But we had a heck of a year, and I'll start with what's most important, and that is the number of graduates. We awarded 2,537 degrees as of Thursday the 21st. I asked for that number specifically for graduation night. 2,712 certificates as of that same day. Had almost 1,300 graduates choosing to walk in the ceremony. That was, 650 or so at 5 o'clock and 650 at 8 o'clock, and we filled the bowl 2 times. If you're from Visalia, you're aware of how crowded the Cowhide football game gets, and that's what the 8 o'clock session looks like. It's just amazing and a heck of a lot of fun, and just want to thank Will Hobbs and about 100 people that come together and make that, I think, just about the best community college celebration in the state. and really rivals that of most four-year universities. I've been to a bunch with 4 kids in different degrees. I've been to a bunch, and ours rivals that of most of them. We also went over 11,000 full-time equivalent students for the first time in our 100-year history. That's the way that we're funded, as all of you know, so that was a big accomplishment. It's the 10th straight year that we're recording a structural surplus, which allows us to do kind of all the fun stuff that we do, including build a lot of things, like locally funding a $40 million tech and trades complex. We fully opened that this year. We had that soft opening in January of 25, but really got rolling this year. We held a ribbon cutting ceremony for our new training resource center. What a gorgeous facility that is. In my opinion, it's as nice as any training resource center in the state. That's out in the industrial park. We also had the groundbreaking ceremony for a $95 million university center and student union. I think that's going to transform, revolutionize the way higher ed is provided here in Tulare and Kings County. And then for Michelle's benefit, we also gained approval in the current budget, or the budget for 26-27, for a $67 million science building in Hanford. All of those are fabulous, but wait, there's more. We also got, as Jesse noted, we've got an 8-year approval from the ACC-JC. That was unbelievable and fantastic. We also published our 10-year master plan, 25 through 35. We published a 3-year strategic plan. For those 4 broad goal areas, we've got 10 objectives and probably 40 day-to-day actions we'll be chipping away at over the next 3 years. Our latest approval rating from students was 98% student approval rating. That was from the spring of 25. And then a 95% employee approval rate. I'm not sure who gets approval ratings that high. Maybe Nordstrom. I don't know. Maybe your favorite ice cream store, but certainly not colleges and probably most cities or counties. So pretty amazing. Counting the increase that I think we're approving tonight with the tentative budget, our salary schedules have increased by 70% since 2016. And so just for kicks, I compared it to what inflation has rose in that same span, and it was only 39%. You know, I mean, we all feel rising costs, but those have gone up by 39%, and our salary schedules have gone up by 70%. Pretty incredible. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about this, but you talk about outward-facing programs that bring thousands and thousands of people to our campuses every year. Parents, grandparents, people that have no other reason to be on a community college campus come for these type of events, and they leave with a real understanding of what their local community college does for them and the local economy. Our foundation, $700,000 in scholarships. That's a high watermark from this spring, plus another couple $100,000 in direct program support. And then finally, I also wanted to just kind of finish it with the graduation event. Absolutely amazing, from facilities and maintenance to the AV guys that make us shine, to all the student services folks that get out there and sweat in the sun and plan and pull it off, and then for all of our faculty that come and celebrate with students, the band as well. Just a real team effort and a lot of fun to see. It's just a great way to end the year. We drag across the finish line most years, maybe every year. And I'll tell you, if that graduation event, though, doesn't remind you of why we do what we do, then you need to feel yourself for a pulse, because it is a really, really special night. And I just appreciate everyone coming out and supporting it. So with that, if I can just maybe, is there any questions for me? Because I would like to just do the honors of introducing our new Academic Senate President, Mr. Joshua Geist. Come on up, Josh.
No report. I don't actually have anything, but I did want to make sure to come and
You're already a
introduce
favorite.
myself to the board. For those who don't know me, I am an English professor at COS. I've been here for, I think, 18 or 19 years now. I cause trouble wherever I go, but I try to make sure that it's good trouble.
That's great.
More than happy if anybody has any questions for me, or I will let us get on.
Questions for Josh?
Congratulations on this.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so Josh, just 18 years or so at COS?
Yes.
And just give us a little prior, where you went to school and where you're from and that sort of
I'm
stuff.
from Fresno initially. I went to Clovis West, if we want to go back that far. I got my bachelor's in English and psychology at Fresno State, master's of fine arts in creative writing. I am, in a way that baffles my students, somebody who is so passionate about essays that I went out and I got additional degrees in essay writing, which served me well in writing emails that are undoubtedly too long. I also got my certificate of advanced study in composition studies alongside my MFA, and that's how I ended up teaching composition, which is like I teach almost no literature because I like essays and I do creative writing. And then I ended up, I've been serving as the Subcommittee B chair for Senate for the last couple of years, which means that I annoy everyone in Senate meetings with very fine-grained conversations about governing documents. And now I have to find somebody else to do that because I know that I can do both things at the same time. I can be annoying no matter what role I fill.
Does your wife concur with that?
Yes, she's with our kids, but she's probably yelling it right now.
Thank you.
Any novels in the works since you're into creative
No,
writing?
I have, essays are really hard to market. I've never been much of a fiction writer myself. I actually just had a publication in an anthology this past March, just came out. It's a book called Hit Repeat Until You Hate Music. It is a collaborative essay project run out of the University of Arizona called March Xmas, where we do essays about songs. We have a tournament every March, and so one of mine was chosen to make it into their anthology.
So do you like seed the songs, kind of like you do in
They
March
do,
Madness?
yeah. I don't know how they do all the math. They think a lot about it. They do a lottery every year.
I'm thinking that like Pearl Jam Black has to be a #1 seed.
It depends, so each year has a different theme. So the year that I wrote for that is in the book was March Danceness. It was the dance music of the 2000s. They do March Fadness some years, where they'll take a decade and pull out all the one-hit wonders. And so the tournaments are seeded, and then readers will read the essays, listen to the song, and vote based on some combination of how they feel about the song, how they feel about the essay, and just their mood on the day. So it ends up being a really weird tournament. But it can be pretty competitive. I made it to the Final Four. The winner actually does get a championship ring.
Really? Well, keep us informed. Yeah, I see how you do.
I will. I'll talk to you about this at the next board meeting we get back, because this year they're doing a Christmas tournament with Christmas music. So thank you all very much.
Thanks, Josh. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Before we move on, I did want to comment on President Calvin's report. I just want to thank you for your leadership, all those great accomplishments, of course, your leadership, as well as those who contribute to it and make those an outstanding, something to be very much proud of being at COS. I want to thank you for that. I did see on the cover of the commencement that it was the 99th year. So that means next year will be the 100th year, so I'm very
100th graduation.
graduation class. So that's all exciting. Again, I have no doubt that in a year from now, a lot of great accomplishments will continue on under your leadership. So thank you.
Thank you. We got a squad here. We got
Yes.
some wonderful, wonderful people, and it's just a lot of fun when we pull in the same direction on things and see what we can do. It's the thrill of a lifetime.
Excellent, thank you. Further on in reports, next is Costa President's Report, Ms. Redden. Did not see Ms. Redden. Next, CSEA President's Report, Ms. Kane. Oh. Janet.
Good evening, everyone. Katie is currently attending a conference for AFL-CIO, so she's out of the office right now. I'm a little nervous because my supervisor's in the audience. For those of you who don't know, my name's Janet Leha. I'm the CSEA Chapter Vice President here. CSEA wanted to bring some attention to a concern with the staffing process. The existing process for requesting and approving new staff positions is not as transparent as the faculty process. Faculty have an avenue to advocate for and attempt to get necessary faculty hired, while staff doesn't have an equitable process to advocate for additional staffing. The existing process appears to be done quietly because it takes place in senior management primarily, and unlike the instructional council process, which has minutes that are readily accessible, the instructional council votes on any staffing being paid by academic programs, and any staff that come through admin or student services only go to senior management for screening and approval. Additionally, we don't get a complete list of all the staffing that were requested and those that were approved, so we have no idea really what departments are actually saying their staffing needs are. CSEA would like to request that DGS and senior management review these processes during the summer's annual review of the district's governance manuals to make the process more transparent and equitable for staff. Ideally, this would include a published list of all staff requested in program review before it goes to senior management, and it would also include a process by which staff could rank our own needs, like faculty have the opportunity to do so. And that is the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. COSAFA President's Report, Ms. Alberti. Okay. We'll move on to information. Mr. Banuelos, I'd like to invite you to share a report on the 2025-26 evaluation of institutional program review.
And maybe you can share how, to Ms. Leah's concern, that staff from program reviews do go through the same instructional council and student services council, and they get pitched the same way there in those groups as faculty do.
And all resource requests, and I'll touch a little bit on that one, including faculty, staffing requests, are found in program review. I can help. We can speak later on how to get there and how to run those reports. Well, they call me Mr. Program Review, and so actually nobody calls me.
You call yourself that.
I call myself that. I call myself Mr. Program Review. But in all seriousness, I'm here to provide you with our annual update on program review as it happened throughout this year. And so I'll remind everyone that our purpose in program review, we have three main tasks. We make recommendations to the college on policy and procedures related to program review. We evaluate the questions used in our program review template, our form that we used, and ensure it aligns with the district's mission, the accreditation, and district planning. And we train people and provide support to those that author their program reviews, and just campus-wide we provide support. And so what we also have 4 tools that we use to evaluate our own work that we do here within our committee. We conduct an audit of the program reviews that were submitted throughout the year. We do a random sampling of the program review narratives that were submitted. So each year we randomly selected about 25, 26 program review narratives that we run through an audit process. We conduct a district-wide user survey, asking questions of the user experience, the involvement, the level of involvement in authoring program reviews. We conduct a annual joint committee meeting that includes the institutional planning and effectiveness committee, outcomes and assessment committee, instructional council, and the budget committee. And mainly we ask those committees on pretty much what can we do as a committee that can support their mission, their tasks, and their work. Finally, we run a district governance senate committee survey. It's run by institutional research, our Dolly's office. And that's the survey that we ask our own members how our committee is doing. And if you recall, last year, I think Dolly presented data on every committee, and we were the only committee that did not use Robert's Rules of Order. We really stood out, and I had to explain it's a working committee, and we pride ourselves by only using Robert's Rules when we have to talk about policy changes and a little bit stuff like that, and any big changes that we have to talk about. All right, so out of the audit, and I'll pass on the sample questions that we use in our audit forms. We averaged, out of all the questions that we use in our audits, we were pleased with the findings. Pretty much all of our questions came back at 90% or above in terms of agree or disagree on whether programs wrote meaningful information in their areas of improvement, their description of their programs. There was one question that stood out, which was, did the programs use data analysis to support their claims and conclusions? That one stood out because it was averaging above 90%. I would say I think it was about 97% that historically folks were using data to support those conclusions. Somehow this year that dropped to about 80%. And we're still trying to figure out what happened there. It might have been just a sampling that happened, but one thing that we plan on doing is to focus our trainings specifically on that one and remind folks that they need to use data to support any claims that they write into their program reviews. So that's the question that stood out. And so I'm going to bear you a lot of time and effort. I'm not going to go into every tool and every question that we were used, but just highlight the ones that were somewhat significant that we found. Okay? Any questions on that one? No? All right. And so let's talk about the district-wide user survey. And so we received 90 respondents that completed the survey. The survey includes questions like, why did you choose to do an annual program review versus every other year, biannual? If you recall, we changed the process from doing a program review every year to every 2 years with an option to do it every year. And so we started asking the users why questions such as that, the level of involvement that it takes to complete the program review, the level of difficulty, the amount of effort completing the program reviews. So overall, we were encouraged with the results. Again, I like to highlight 2 questions that were there, which was the process easy to follow? And as you can see, we have 97% agreed that the process was easy to follow. Was the program review process beneficial to their program? And I'm happy to report that 97% as well said yes. It was easy to follow, and it was beneficial to the program. Now, the other metric that we use to assess our work is the joint meeting that we have with the various committees. And this is more of a conversation, a really meaningful conversation. where, again, we're just talking and getting feedback, verbal feedback from committee representatives. And one that we got from IPEC, the Planning and Effectiveness, was to ensure that our new goals and objectives were included in the Nuventive software. We had updated the software, and so we catched that it had the old objectives. So we ended up fixing that, where we have the district objectives, though we were not able to map out the goals necessarily in Nuventive, but the objectives clearly align to the goals anyway. So I don't think we're missing any information there. Outcomes and Assessment Committee and Instructional Council, they asked us to compile a report, a list of exemplary programs that they wanted to include for the accreditation committee and the visiting team. We did that. We ran a report of probably some of the best program reviews that were submitted, and we provided that to the accreditation work group. And my co-chair, Christian Anderson, and I, we were also involved in the interviews that the visiting team had, and we were able to showcase our programs. The Budget Committee, I really like this one. This one stood out. The Budget Committee came back and said, look, the above-base requests that are coming in are not clearly demonstrating an alignment to the needs improvement or clearly aligning to the objectives and the goals of the college. We need to do a better job. You need to do a better job in emphasizing that. And so we went back and we really focused this year on that portion of the trainings, reminding authors and collaborators that anything that they're asking in above base needs to really be aligned with the college goals, and the objectives, and delineated in the main summary of their program reviews. Not only did we do that, but we're also developing videos, and I have a small video to showcase part of that work. Let's see, and Instructional Council, they suggested that we train managers as well on how to do audits so they can have meaningful conversations with the authors. And so we went through the actual audit form and say, look, this is what the audit reviewers do, and this would be a clear guide that you can use when you're talking to the program review authors in your areas, and ask them questions about the data, and the preliminary feedback that we're getting from folks is that the quality of the program reviews has just improved. All right, so I like to showcase this number. Now, mind you that we're in the second year of folks not having the requirement to do annual program reviews. Nevertheless, 83% of the 102 units are doing program reviews. In other words, 85 of the 102 units are submitting program reviews, and so that's pretty cool. When some folks don't have they have the option of just not doing them and waiting for another year, it shows that it's important for folks to do it. Now, we want to make sure that we're capturing that alignment to the strategic plan. So from the units that did submit program reviews, from the 85, 78 of those units did have actions that linked to the strategic plan. The 7 that you see there actually did not include any actions. And creating actions is not a requirement of program review. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that those seven program review units did not include actions, but we're still happy with the number of 78 program reviews that did link them to the strategic plan. And so Units with resource requests, 60 of the 85 units included resource requests. Let me see, let me catch my notes here. Oh, yes. Okay, and how many resource requests? 214 resource requests were submitted, okay? And this includes faculty, staffing, facilities, budget augmentations. So I'm sure that some of those resource requests are classified staff members. And 94, we received 94 above base requests as well. And so in summary, I'm personally proud of the work that we have done. We assess what's happening in program review, and we're making recommendations and findings, and we just are now wrapping things down and getting ready for the trainings to come in the fall, summer and fall. Now, with that, I want to give credit to Christian Anderson and Tim Hook, our philosophy instructor, who helped with the video. I also want to give credit to Aaron Kingsley, our instructional designer, who helped us and guided us on how to use this software to create videos. So without further ado, I did not bring popcorn, as though I watched this video for like almost 20 times, and I'm always excited to see it. So.
Something wrong with you, man.
I know, it's sad.
In program review, an action is a one-year plan that your unit will carry out to support institutional objectives and/or learning outcomes. To add a new action, go to Unit Planning, open Actions/Resource Requests and Updates, and click the plus button. In Action Name, enter a short label you'll recognize later. Then, in Action, describe what you will do in 1 or 2 sentences. Keep the action specific, measurable, and achievable within 1 year. If it's a multi-step project, enter only 1 step per action. Important note, actions in program review do not include requests for full-time faculty positions. Those requests come later as a resource request, not as an action. This same rationale applies to other types of resources. Set the status to active or inactive. Next, select the implementation timeline for the academic year. If it's a longer project, break it into annual steps and enter only the current year step. Add the person or people responsible, using roles or position titles. In the rationale, briefly explain why this action matters and include supporting data, linking back to strengths, needs, challenges, and outcomes. Select a priority level. These fields help substantiate and compare actions, even though prioritization happens outside program review. If applicable, indicate whether this is tied to a safety issue or external mandate, and explain the compliance or regulation factors. Upload any related documents that support the action. Finally, click Save.
And if you did not notice, it was 78 degrees outside that day, and it was partially sunny. After watching the video for about 25 times, I was like, it was 78 degrees out there. So, interesting fact. Any questions?
What's the timeline in submitting something like that that we just watched? Is there a sequence
So,
of time?
oh yes, good question. So we start our first trainings on this month and in July, and then folks need to finish their first draft on September 15th. Their manager should be reviewing it by then, and then the hard deadline is October 15th.
Francisco shared our planning schedule there, and that was put in place specifically to demonstrate to accreditors and others that new resources need to be tied to our mission, and they do that through their relationship with our 10-year master plan and the goals in there, and the 3-year strategic plan and the objectives there. And so none of that works without the vehicle of program review, and hearing from faculty as to how these new resource requests will tie to the strategic plan, in turn the master plan, in turn driving our mission. So it's really a key area of our district. Thank you, Francisco.
Thank you.
Thanks, Francisco.
Before we move forward, I forgot to ask Dr. Calvin, when would you like me to present my memo for request to agendize item? I forgot. I don't know if I was supposed to do it during my board report.
I thought we'd agreed that that you would give us time, and we put it on an actual agenda in July.
Okay.
We'll put it on the July to be considered, right?
Yes.
And then if everybody has consensus, then it'll, I mean, you guys want it? I think you've read it. I thought, yeah, I'm sorry, Trustee Diaz. I just figured we would discuss it at the July meeting. My apologies. Yeah, so you've met that deadline by several weeks now.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely put it on July, discuss it, and then if there's consensus to do this, it'll be in probably August, unless otherwise. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item is consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. An item may be removed from the consent calendar at the request of any member of the Board of Trustees or any member of the audience and considered as a separate agenda item. Items on the calendar are minutes of the previous meeting, personnel report, payment of bills, 2025, 2026 working budget approval, renewal of legal services for the district.
I'd like to request to pull number 6, renewal of legal services for district.
Okay. Any other items? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar for items 2 through 5.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Aguilar, seconded by Trustee Nunes. All in favor, say aye.
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 Now addressing item 6, renewal of legal services. Trustee Diaz?
I had a few questions regarding this item, which recommends the board approve an agreement for legal services. Let me look for it on here. I wanted to ask who negotiated the agreement and what is the amount of the contract?
It's T&M, time and material.
Time and
If we call them one time for an hour, there'll be an hourly rate in there that we get charged. That's not realistic, though. You know, it'll just be throughout the year. And as I stated in one of the board meetings this spring, our attorney bill continues to rise. There's just more things. In fact, we had two student expulsions today. A good example of that. I don't know if we've ever had 2 in 1 month, but so I along with the vice presidents, I guess you could say, negotiated the contract. Maybe not quite like negotiating a real estate. They've got their rates and there's not a lot of back and forth as there would be in a lot of our negotiations, but we are the ones that agreed to those terms, and we'll use them accordingly.
Under Section 3, Terms and Conditions, item number 2, fixed fee services. Can you provide some examples of the types of training that we would need to pay for the rates for, I think, $6,500 for an 8-hour training? And how many people usually participate in these trainings?
Well, off the top of my head, I would say every 2 years, we're required to have sexual harassment training for all managers. And that would be an example of one. There are others, but that is, and that, so that would be 60 people or so. There are probably examples of others. We don't do a whole lot of trainings of that nature. Some districts do. We do the required. I don't want to put John Bratch on the spot, but anything else come to mind about reoccurring trainings that we would use AARL for?
Every 2 years, we have a equal employment opportunity training. We have a reasonable accommodations, ADA training last year. I can't think of any other trainings. They're certainly not all day. They're usually at 2 hours or even 1 hour.
And off the top of my head, we're also not bound to use AARL in that regard either. We've used other attorneys for that. We've also used, we've used our own training resource center for some of the trainings. So they would just be one source for those trainings.
Under this same section of terms and conditions, but item number 4, costs and expenses, how often are administrative fees paid versus in lieu of photocopies, car mileage, parking, faxing, et cetera? And would there be times to pay those instead of the 5%, and who reviews that?
What page are you on?
Page 2 of the agreement for special services.
Yeah, we would, in almost all cases, I believe, lean on them to do the administrative fee.
So are consulting processing fees standard practice, and would this be similar to like a finder's fee or legal referrals?
I couldn't answer that. I think this is fairly standard with all the attorneys that we use. I mean, the primary thing that we get billed for is the attorney or paralegal that's working on a specific case or issue for us, and then you see like a lower hourly rate, and then supervised, maybe work reviewed by a partner level. Trying to think, just reviewing bills. That's the main issue, and.
Of course, if they have a discipline that they're not, comfortable with in their office, then they would get the consultant, but otherwise, the firm would typically.
Yeah, in this day and age, if you were to compare what we pay in attorney's fees versus the amount we could be liable for just one case going off the rails, that covers more than an annual bill from a good education firm. We've been fortunate. We've had very good attorneys that know their stuff, and even then though, it's a tough industry right now. We're sitting ducks for a lot of litigious people out there, and so this is not something that we want to skimp on.
Moving on into, under section B, billing practices, number 4. Fixed fee services, okay, that's page 3. Are we okay with that section which states while they are working for us, they can work with another client at the same time? I would hope that, you know, the focus would be on our request, given we are paying for their time.
Well, yeah, if there's a conflict, certainly. I think what this refers to is, because it's come up before, if there's a statewide issue that all community colleges are dealing with, and they happen to represent 3 or 4 entities in the exact same situation, they could do the work and bill all 4 of their customers if they were so requested to. Now, would we get a little economies of scale there? I would hope so. But we may not even know who their other customers or clients are. So they're not required to divulge that to us unless there's a conflict of interest.
On the next page 4, under services performed by law firm provided non-legal consultants, how can we safeguard from any conflicts under this section?
So this would be an example of if a school district needed help with an investigation, do you want to pay $500 an hour for that, or do you want to pay $100 for that? And so they would contract with a firm that specializes in investigations that are not, but they may not be attorneys. The safeguarding part is on them. If they contract with another firm, you know, they're guaranteeing us that firm is on the up and up. I think that's what your question was. And just one more reason for us to, in that case, we would pay a bit of a markup, because that investigation company would bill the attorney, and the attorney would put an administrative markup on it and bill us. But you know, first of all, we have their stamp of approval to answer your question, and then we also maintain attorney-client privilege in that matter. So it's not discoverable, if you will.
So I would prefer to have a process that is not a blanket approval for quote-unquote informed consent. By approving, you know, the agreement, can we add language that would allow for like a case-by-case situation that, you know, you could approve?
I wouldn't recommend that. Now, if a majority of you tell me to, fine, but we're trying to run a $200 million operation here, and I don't think you want me doing that kind of research on everything. We've got an attorney that we trust very much, one of the best in the business statewide. AARL has our back, and I just would not recommend that.
Mr. Calvin, I'm sorry, I had a question, if you're done.
Well, I have a couple, on regarding this?
Sure.
Oh, okay. I just have a couple more questions under binding arbitration. Do you have any questions? Or do you want me to?
No, you can
Oh, okay. So on the next page, page 5, under binding arbitration, second paragraph, is there a reason why we would not request the Tulare County Superior Court by the one choosing an impartial arbitrator versus the Fresno Superior Court?
Well, they're from Fresno, our attorney.
Okay.
And in that regard, it's their contract. And so sometimes we kind of live with things or we don't live with things. And there are times where we would push back and requested to be in Tulare County. And in this case, we haven't, and I don't anticipate having a need for binding arbitration, but if so, it'll happen in Fresno.
And then the last question under the last paragraph, under binding arbitration. So the last sentence of the third paragraph states that the law firm recommends we have an independent attorney review the arbitration provision. Has that been done?
Not this year, it has not. We've been using these folks for 20 years, and I believe it was when we first started with AARL. So it has not been done in at least 15 years.
That's all.
Okay, that's all, okay.
Trustee Nunes?
Is it my understanding is my understanding correct that Atkinson, the firm we're talking about here, is one of the few firms that specialize in junior college in the area? I know the one other firm, Lozano Smith out of Fresno, also does school districts, but they may not necessarily do
They don't do a lot of community
colleges.
college.
Pardon me?
Lozano Smith doesn't do a lot of community college. Some, and then there's basically two, AARL and Liebert and Cassidy, that do K-12 and community college. So, and they're quite busy. Lozano Smith has some real expertise, maybe not as much in community college, but the three of them kind of dominate the education attorney industry, at least in this region.
I would like to move for approval of item 6, but I've also would be interested in, since there were so many questions here, I would be interested in any comments that Trustee Aguilar might have on this, since he's been a practicing attorney, and he's familiar probably with these sort of contracts.
In my review of it, it's pretty straightforward in terms of the language used in the client-attorney relationship, and it outlines the fees and charges. A monthly billing is the way I read it. As to some of the questions that have been raised, my take on it is it's pretty standard in regards to what they're doing and the affiliations that they have with other outfits that support whatever legal services are needed for, in particular COS. As to the binding arbitration question, I can understand why there'd be some confusion with regard to Fresno County as opposed to Tulare County, but in essence, though, it could actually save money, because any arbitration taking place in Fresno, the attorneys are there, and it saves any travel time or any expenses for non-legal people to come and arbitrate anything here in Tulare County. So, and mostly within this region, you're using the same list of arbitrators across the or 4 counties in this area. So I'm not too particularly concerned in terms of some of the language that's been used.
I think it's significant, the fact that we have used this firm for so long, and they have the institutional knowledge of College of Sequoias in our history as well. So I'm in support, Ken, of, be willing to make a second if you're ready.
Yeah, that was a motion.
Yeah.
Motion by Trustee Nunes,
I'll second.
seconded by Trustee Lane. Any other further discussion? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries for item 6 of the consent calendar. Moving on to action items, approval and transfer of 2025-2026 one-time funds, resolution number 2026-03, Mr. Perez.
Good evening, Board, and thank you, Mr. Program Review, for teeing me up. Action items 7 through 11 that you're going to see tonight for your action. Just to go back last month, the financial and budget information that I shared with the Board in May. All of this has been incorporated in action items 7 through 11 with some minor adjustments from the May revise. Remember, our board meeting was on a Monday. The governor released his May revise in September, so we had some minor tweaks there. So with this is a one-time approval of transfer 25-26, which is our fiscal year that ends June 30th. Our CCFS showed in March a 6.4, we're estimating about a $6.4 million surplus at the end of the year. Last month, and let me go over real quick what Dr. Program Review, Mr. Program Review went over. The chart behind me and what you have up there, I'll just kind of run through it because everything I'm going to be talking about tonight deals with resource allocation through the integrated planning process. The upper left-hand side is program above base. So it's one-time funds that folks can ask for through program review. The district allots $300,000 each fiscal year for that. That's upper left, above base. The yellow is base budget, which means it's a carry forward budget. So if Byron had $200,000 in his budget, he carries automatically $200,000. He has the opportunity to reallocate within his department $200,000, no more, no less. That's what he gets for base budget. He works with the Rainbow on that one. The right-hand side is base budget augmentations, ongoing budget expenditures, which you all saw last month. That has to do with discretionary and staffing, and I'll go over that when we talk about tentative budget. The middle salmon color, red color is program review for new staff and new faculty. There is a process there, an AP process for new staff requests and faculty requests. And then the right-hand side, what this topic is tonight is occasionally there's one-time funds that the superintendent and myself look at that's going to fall out at the end of the fiscal year. And we develop a plan on what we're going to do with those one-time funds. So let me kind of give you an overview. So again, we're showing about a $6.4 million surplus. What we're asking, what we presented to the board last month is information was $1 million to technology. Our reason being is every summer, IT, Dave and his staff go in and upgrade all the classrooms, well, the ones that need it, all the labs, not only in Visalia, but Hanford and Tulare, the Wi-Fi, the infrastructure, staff laptops and desktops, and our LRC laptops also that they're all going to be working on. Anytime we upgrade a staff computer, well, first thing we do is we look at it and say, can that be brought over to the LRC for our laptop checkout program? So that's what this money is for. And then again, what you heard, the great news for our provost, Michelle, is a surprise in our budget, a Hanford Science Building, a $67 million project. Of that $67 million, we're on the hook for 25%, or $16 million. So we are asking to move $4 million into the Hanford Science Building. That $16 million does not include contingency or FF&E. So we're looking at a contingency maybe of 7%, about $4.6 million. FF&E is a science building. It's a lot of lab equipment, so that's about another $2 million. So not only are we looking at $16 million of the 25%, but we're looking for contingency and FF&E. So I kind of want to explain that because I went over it last month, and this is tonight for an action item. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain your motion for approval for resolution 2026-3, moving $1 million over technology and $4 million into the Hanford Science Building. Happy to answer any questions you may have on this one.
Motion for approval and transfer of 2025-2026 one-time funds, resolution number 2026-03.
I would second that motion.
Motion by trustee Diaz, seconded by trustee Aguilar. Any further discussion? Any other comments, discussion? If not, I'll request a roll call vote.
Trustee Diaz? Aye. Trustee Aguilar?
Aye.
Trustee Lane?
Aye.
Trustee Nunes?
Aye.
Trustee Mataroni?
Thank you very much. Next item, item 8, approval of the 2026-2027 tentative budget. Mr. Perez.
Thank you. So our fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30th. Tentative budget is what it is, the tentative budget. Based upon the May revise, the governor's May revise, and what it is authorizing the district to start expending funds starting July 1st. So I kind of go over, and that's the recap. You kind of see where our general fund and restricted is 148 million of revenue. We are anticipating 146 million in expenditures and a surplus of 2.1. If you add the $95 million of our university center, it takes us over 2. If you add the 67 million for the Hanford Science Building, we're at $300 million enterprise right now. So we're pretty big up there. So our tentative budget, kind of give you what our district timelines are for tentative budget. And in your packet also, there's a PowerPoint, there's a budget book, and there's also a recap of the May revise. And when I do the PowerPoint, I might kind of refer to a page in the budget book for you to look at. Again, July 1st is our tentative budget. We take the final budget in September, and then we submit that to the Chancellor's office, and then we have an audit from our last previous year, and that's submitted to you, the board. Where we're at in the process right now. Governor does his May revise, and that's just a start. Now they're up in Sacramento hashing it all out. They have until June 15th to adopt a budget, state budget. If it's not on time budget, the legislatures don't get paid. So most likely it will be an on-time budget. So when they sign that budget, June 15th, there's also an opportunity to make more changes within that budget. That's why you see on the right-hand side, second row, August adjustments. Again, we as a district do the tentative based upon June 15th. Now we're waiting for August adjustments or anything else that's going to fall out or add to. So we take that information and then we present to you in September our final adopted budget based upon those changes. What does the governor's revise have? Again, in January, we released his initial budget. He showed a projected deficit of $3 billion. May revise, it went from a negative $3 billion to he found $16.5 billion additional money. Why? How? Well, we call this the big three: income taxes, corporate taxes, and state use and taxes. Most had to do with capital gains. Of that 16.5, 13.68 billion was due to personal income taxes, capital gains, basically the AI sector of the stock market. We also wanted to do some spending reductions, reduce the expenditures by 1.8 billion. It's a balanced 2-year budget. And again, also fiscal restraint, long-term stability, and future economic viability by building up his reserves. What does that mean?
So just help me figure out after the May revise, so we were at I know I see the numbers here, but we were at a 2.9 billion deficit.
In revenue.
After the May revise, what is that number?
It was a difference in revenue. So here right now he's a balanced budget, but it was a difference in revenue. He was short $3 billion in revenue. He was. Remember, the LAO said it was somewhere between 15 to 20 something billion. But then again, the April tax receipts came in. It was 60.
Yeah, but I guess I don't. So if we were at a 2.9 billion, and maybe that's not important to hear, but if we were at a 2.9 billion deficit and we have increased revenues of 16.5 billion, doesn't that put us way into the black?
No, because he's moving money around to the reserves. Even though
Yeah, so he's offset, there's offsets with expenditures, and hopefully the net result is a balanced budget.
Right. So he's cutting expenditures by 1.8, but he's also putting money in the rainy day funds and some other funds.
Yeah, which is okay.
So what does that all mean for us, community colleges? Again, our roadmap for Chancellor's Office Vision 2030. Base funding stability, and I'll go over that. Pays off our deferrals for this year. Our deferrals is about, $9 million that they owe us right now. Our fiscal year ends in 20-something days. They still owe us $9 million. You also see there's a deficit when I show up here, so we're looking at about $11 million that we're actually carrying out of our reserves until they pay us. Capital
That's a good point.
projects.
People assume we have a $110 million budget. Some people assume that we get that on day one of the fiscal year and we just spend it down throughout the year. It'd be great if they just broke it up into 12 equal payments and we got paid monthly. The reality is we don't. Normally 10 or 20% of it is deferred until the end of the year and sometimes even the next fiscal year, so they can play a bit of smoke and mirrors. What's that mean to us? It means we use our reserves to cash flow, to make payroll and things of that nature. If we were a private business, that's what cash is king. That's what really puts pressure on individual business owners. Well, it puts pressure on us too, because it's our reserves that we have to use to cash flow ourselves until the state makes us whole. Sorry, Mom.
It's okay. Capital projects, again, that's our in the budget, our Hanford Science Building, $67 million project. One-time deferred maintenance. At one point, we were getting $9 million, about 3 years ago. 1 month, like this month in the fiscal year, they pulled back, what was it, $5 million, I think it was, $6 million? Luckily, we didn't spend it, so we were able to give it back. The last 2 years, they didn't give us anything. This year, I think we're getting about $1 million of deferred maintenance one time. It's not ongoing. And then revenue budget adjustments, you hear the term super COLA. Our statutory COLA is 2.87. It's tied to our CPI index. But he's given us, when I say he, it's the governor, additional 1.44%. My next slide, I'll explain more on that. 2-year growth, a budget that starts next year, July, of that 1.5%, he's funding growth for this year. So he's funding our growth this year. Next year, it'll be a 0.5%, and our categorical COLA is 2.87, and that's what they were getting there. So what does that mean for us in comparables? Again, January budget showed 241 for COLA. May revised came out 287. Super COLA, or I'll say discretionary COLA, there's additional 1.44, but part of that, or a catch to that, is that all districts have to offer paid pregnancy disability leave. I believe right now, John, they use sick leave if they go on? Yes. So a condition of receiving that 1.44 is districts to offer paid pregnancy disability leave. So if you add those two together, 5.31 COLA that we plan to put on a salary schedule. Our growth, again, 1% for this year that ends in 20-something days, and 0.5 next year. And then various COLAs for categoricals, mostly in the student services side. You'll see where it says highlight or underline no COLA for student equity and achievement. Probably their biggest categorical in student services that doesn't receive a COLA. Why I point that out is we all get paid, we all get raises. They have to use their money that's allocated to pay that 5.31. Means they have to dip in their operational budget for that. Deferred maintenance, again, didn't change. We're looking at 1.2 million for the district. Again, deferred maintenance, you see energy projects, HVAC, sidewalks, window, retrofitting, just about everything under the sun that Byron and his staff do there. On the advocacy side, a lot of organizations up above that are advocating as the May revise came out. Everybody took a look at it and said, thank you, but there's other things that we'd like. Funded enrollment growth. Instead of a 0.5, the system is asking at 3.5. Modified credit FTES. Again, we're funded, and I'll go over it in a second. 3 pillars: access, which is the FTES, the demographics of our students, and the success of our students. Right now, the first pillar, or 70% of our budget, is based upon a 3-year average of credit FTES. We're asking to use either the highest of that or the highest of the current year number. You heard President Calvin just talk about we're over 11,000. Let's use that 11,000 because it's a lot higher than our 3-year average. Eliminate the 10% cap on funded growth. Let districts grow as big as they can get. I remember when the COVID pandemic hit, there's a lot of community colleges that haven't reached that number to pre-pandemic, and that's why you heard about the fiscal cliff. There's a lot of them that are still held harmless because they haven't reached that level. So if we could get up there, or if they would fund us that, we're there. We have a little over 500 unfunded FTES, a good thing, which means unfunded FTES is we're offering more class sections to our students in our local community that we're getting paid for. So that's an expense that we are, as a district, taking on, but we're helping the students out there, and we can afford to do that. And again, give us, please, COLA and student equity and achievement. This is a chart, not from us, but CCLC, which is one of the state organizations, basically saying to all CEOs, if the governor says, hey, we're going to release that cap, and you can go up to 10%, you'll see that we have an unfunded of 518 FTES. If he says, go ahead and grow, and we're gonna fund you, what does that mean to us? 2.8 million. But that's just the first pillar, that's just the FTES number. Doesn't talk about if they're AB 540, or if they're Pell Grant recipients, or if they're getting a degrees and whatever, that's extra dollars. So at a minimum, be an additional 2.8 million to us. So of course, we're advocating for that. And now I want to talk about types of colleges. Familiar with her, we're a single college district, which means we're the district and we're the college. That's why Dr. Calvin wears two hats, a superintendent and president. He's the district and the college. Multi-college, state senate. They have a district office, chancellor. West Hills has a district office, and they have presidents in colleges and vice presidents. So I just kind of want to talk about that. And then funding methods, there's 4 ways that districts are funded. We have current year FTS plus COLA, which I call SCIF. Then we have prior year FTS plus COLA, which means a district kind of took a dip in FTS, but the chancellor's office says, we're not going to harm you, we're going to fund you at prior year numbers plus the COLA. Then you have hold harmless. Those are 13 districts that never reached back up to their pre-pandemic FTS level. They had till in 24, 25 to get that back to that number. So what's happening is the chancellor's office, and I'll say the government, state government, is giving them at that, this is your number, but you're not getting COLA no more. So what they're facing is, this is my number. But when everybody else gets COLA, other districts, no, they don't get COLA. So can you imagine a union saying, where's my COLA when the district doesn't get COLA? How are they gonna fund that? And then basic aid. Basic aid districts are districts that get more money from their property taxes than what the SCIF calculates to. I'll run through a couple. We are a SCIF district, meaning, and you look at, I know in the audience, you can't read it, it's too small, but board members, you do have that. A, B, and C. We get the largest of A, B, and C. A is the SCIF, meaning if you look on the left-hand side, base allocation, supplemental, and success, add those dollars up. We're at that number there, and I don't have my, I can't cheat, but we're, thank you. I'll say we're at that number. And then we look at B, and we look at C. Which one is greater? Which of the 3 are greater? A is greater. Is that 110 million I'm looking at? Okay, thank you. 110 million. So the next column down, 25, 26, TCR max of A, B, and C, we're at 110 million. That doesn't mean the state's gonna give us 110 million. Look on the left-hand side, property taxes. We're getting 20 million from property taxes. Student enrollment fees, we're getting 3 million from student enrollment fees. EPA, we're getting 14 million from EPA. That's another agenda item, but you'll see it in a second. And then lo and behold, they owe us 69 million. Of that, sorry, I got some old ones. Of that, you see an arrow drawing down to the left, deferred amount. They said, we owe you 69 million, but we don't have 69 million to pay you. So we're gonna defer you 7 million, okay? So we're not gonna get that probably until September or October. So as you heard President Calvin say, we have to use our reserve for that. But then look on the right-hand side, revenue deficit. So of that 110 million, the state only has 107 million. So they're gonna deficit us, meaning I owe you, John, 110 million, but I only got 107, so that's all I'm gonna pay you for right now. When I get the money, I'll pay you later, okay? So add the 7, wish we had that. Add the 7 and the 3, we're carrying, or we're using our reserves almost $11 million. Cash is king. So again, it looks like a lot of money. We don't get it all at once. We get about 8 to 7% every month of that amount. But if there's a deferral and a deficit, we don't even get that.
Ron, is the 3 million revenue deficit amount, does that come in at a later date, or is that gone forever?
It should come in at a later date.
Okay.
So when they pass a budget, hopefully the word on the street, the deficit's gonna go away, just because the additional money that we just showed, the 16.5 billion. Again, seeing is believing. So again, we just book it as an AR, and when it comes in, it's great. That's us. We're a SCIF district. Here's a district that's prior year. So add up all the 3 on the left-hand side. Their revenue, their formula is like 77. But look at the line below it where it says 24-25 SCIF calculated plus COLA, which is the 5.31. So that money, that is 81 million, I think it is. Help me here.
Do you want me to go so
Pardon?
we can, do you want me to get it so we can blow it up?
Yeah.
Exit out of
can,
this? Okay.
Oh, much better.
You won't be able to, I don't think you can skip
That's
through
okay.
it.
Oh, yeah. You can roll it up for me, right?
Yeah.
So a little over 81 million. So this district is being held, or stability protection, meaning I dropped FTS this year. You're not gonna be penalized. You get a year to get back up to that number. So they're being, protection of 3 million there. So that is a example of a district that took a little dip this year. But again, money-wise, they're not taking a dip. They're gonna be held whole, or made whole. But next year, if they don't get back up, they will take that dip. So that's a prior year district. The next district, thank you, Samantha. See,
We're getting a lot of training here, Ron.
I know. More than you probably want, but we live this every day.
Remember in 2005, we didn't hit our number? We were a prior year district, so we were held harmless. They don't use that term anymore, but at the time they said it was held harmless. And so we took all of summer from summer of 2005, pushed it into 2006 just to make sure we met our number in 2005, 2006.
This next district is what we call a basic aid district, meaning their revenue from their local property taxes far exceed what the funding formula they give them. Prime example of a district. Their funding formula shows that they would get 234 million. Of course, A is bigger than A, B, and C. However, if you look at the 345, 158, their property taxes coming in is 345 million. So that's what we say. So anytime we hear basic aid district complain, we just don't pay attention to them. So they're actually getting 131 million more than what this funding formula would give them, actually. So that's just an example of a basic aid. We have 8 of them. If you kind of scroll down a little bit, I think down at the bottom there's a footnote. Kennetha.
You know, Ron, I'd venture to say that a basic aid district, like in your example, I'm not sure those students in that district are getting a bang for their buck, so to speak, any more than what our students are getting. Safe to say that we're making do very well with what we have. And, you know, I just, I don't know if that's true or not, but.
Oh, I think it is. I think we did an analysis a year and a half ago at the table, and our faculty salaries were number 5 in the state behind 4 basic aid districts like the one you just saw. But ours were still higher than San Diego, San Francisco, Sacramento, LA, with our reduced cost of living. So I would agree with you, Trustee Nunes.
So you see at the bottom, the 8 districts and what they're in excess over the funding formula. And one of the challenges that we have when we compete against these folks, we all compete for capital projects. Yeah. And the more money that a district can contribute to a capital project, the higher score that they get.
I think that's where the difference would show up.
Yes, yes. So that's a big difference there. And I think the last one is a hold harmless district. This is a district that hasn't got back up to the pre-pandemic number. Again, they were given till 24, 25 to get those FTES numbers up. So the funding formula right now, they would get, based upon enrollment and everything else, 125 million. We look at prior years, 131. Hold harmless is 140, 140.9. So they're gonna get 140.9, but they don't get COLA anymore. That's their floor. That's all they get. So they're being held harmless by a protection of $15.2 million. So we encourage all our districts to get back up to that number because we don't know how long the state is gonna allow hold harmless to move forward. But you heard the fiscal cliff. If there was no hold harmless protection, they'd be gone. So right now what they're facing is how are we gonna pay COLA when we don't get COLA to our employee groups? So that's something that they're dealing with. So that's a little tutorial of the funding mechanism of all our districts. We're all different, but we're all equal, right? Again, this is the three pillars of how we're funded. Thank you, Samantha. Again, our general fund tentative budget's 117 million. We throw a deficit factor in, so you saw 3, we're showing about 1% or 1.2. If a deficit goes away, that will fall back at the end of the year. So our tentative revised is 116.3. Again, the left-hand pillar, access, we're a medium college between 10 and 20,000 FTES. 2 educational centers, each over 1,000, and it's an average of 3 years. $78 million there. Supplemental is our equity, the clientele of our students. Are they Pell Grant recipients? Do they get the California Promise Grant, AB 540? That's based prior year numbers. And that's 20% or 23.8 million. And then the right-hand side is 10% student success. Are they getting the ADTs, AAs, and ASs? Are they transferring 4-year? Are they taking transfer level math and English the first year? And again, that's an average of 3 years success. So again, that's a lot of our MIS reporting data that we sent to the state, and they run it through their computers, and this is what comes out. So again, 10%, 15.3, which is on page 6 of your budget book. Again, our revenues, page 7, 148 million. Funded FTS, you heard President Calvin talk about where we went over the 11. We're actually a little more over that 11, but we're being funded off the 11,003. COLA, 4.31, growth 0.5, and our deficit factor, a little over 1% of revenue. Page 8 is our expenditures. Again, last month you heard me talk about Tier 1, Tier 2. Based upon the May revise, we are approving Tier 2 expenditures ongoing. Again, COLA, part of the CBA, is 1% on top of the funded COLA. So we're looking at 5.31 or 4.1 million, or 4.2 if I round up. Step and column, all of those have not maxed out to their highest step and column. We're looking at 1.3. Health and welfare benefit, the last year of our CBA, I think this year the district split between the unions is 75-25. Next year it'll be 50-50, about 500,000. 16 new faculty of that is, 16 faculty. Of that, 7 or 9 replacements. The net of that is 1.3. Base budget augmentations. You heard CSEA come up here and speak. You heard Mr. Program Review talk. We use all that information, Program Review, to talk about resource allocation. There is a mechanism how, if there's staffing needs, it's communicated to the managers. They put it in Program Review. It's brought up to senior management. We look at it. We share it with Budget Committee. We share it with DGS. So again, operationally, of that 3.1 million, 800,000 operational. Staffing new, 613. There's 6 classified there and 1 manager. Staffing reallocation, and what that means is when we take on a categorical or grant, we know probably in the next few years that we're going to have to pick up these folks from the categorical and move them to general fund. Last thing we want to do is lay somebody off. So if the general fund can afford it, and it's an important mission or important thing to the college to support our mission, we're going to do it. So staffing reallocation, 1.7. So of that 1.7, let me see here, I have some notes here. Staffing reallocation is 19 staff that were taken out of a categorical grant, moving it onto the general fund. 9 of those are 100% out of the categorical directly into general fund. And then 10 of them are less than 100%. So it can anywhere between 20 to 50%. So 10, which is 2 managers, 8 classified. Of those 9 new ones that are 100%, 4 faculty, 1 manager, 4 classified. So again, this is ongoing expenditures. So 146 million, we're anticipating an estimated surplus of $2 million. Again, might change when we do our final budget and when the governor signs his budget in June. Again, any other August adjustments.
Hey, Ron, on your 26-27 column, the tentative budget, are the categorical salaries you referred to, are those at this point embedded in that 49 and 32 Does that,
Which way, I'm sorry, which,
the screen after, I guess, did I jump the gun on you?
Page 11.
this one?
I think you're 2 slides ahead.
Oh, I'm
way
sorry, I
ahead.
moved ahead, I'll
I'm going too slow, all right. I'll hurry up. Okay, budget assumptions for 26-27 again.
Page 11.
27-28. Again, these are the assumptions that you see on page 11 that you're just referring to. Again, revenue, we know, 4.31. Growth, deficit, expenditures. 27-28, we don't know yet because negotiations start in January, so we'll see where that's at. So here's the column right here that you might be talking about. On page 11, again, current year, at that point in time, we're showing at 1.9, it's probably gonna be in the tune of 6 million. And then 26-27, you'll see 148 revenue, 146 expenditures, and 2.1. So yes, sir, your question was raises for categoricals?
No, the academic salaries and classified salaries, 49 and 32, does that include categorical?
No, this is just general fund.
Okay, so, but the revenue is categorical revenue, the 31 million, right?
That is part, yeah, you're right, you're correct, now that I'm looking at it. Yes, it does include everybody.
So it
Because
would
other
include-
revenue is
it would
categoricals,
include-
grants, and financial aid.
Okay.
So yes, it does cover that, yes. So this is general fund and restricted, yes, it is. So again, tentative budget shows a 2-1, and then I wouldn't pay too much on 27-28 because we don't know yet. We haven't started negotiations until January. Don't know what the economics are gonna look like in the state and COLA, so, but without any of those assumptions and expenditures, we're showing 5 as a surplus, but again, I wouldn't take that to the bank. Next steps, Governor, June 15th. August revise, we're waiting for that. Then we're gonna take back to you in September a recap of this fiscal year on how we're doing. Again, you just approved 1 million going to technology, 4 million going to the Hanford Science Building. Anything else that drops out is gonna go to our fund balance. Right now, we're a little over 30 million, about 30%. State average is about 32% fund balance. So we wanna hit that 32%. That's one of your priorities, and that's what we're gonna be looking at doing. And then February 27 is a true-up, what we call, we finally get to know how our budget is, or how it finalizes in 8 months after it ends. So we end June 30th, we really won't know until February, until we get the recap coming out there. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have on tentative budgets.
I have a couple of questions on, for this, under this.
Okay, let me pull that.
On the first one, on page 21 of the budget summary section, line item 13,340, adjunct office hours salaries. Does this amount of funding reflect the additional 5% in salaries that they will be provided in the coming year?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And I understand that there is a minimum that needs to be placed in this line item, which I believe is 120,000. Is that correct?
For faculty office hours, are we, I'd have to go back and look. But Jesse, is that?
That's right, by contract, yeah.
I would like to perhaps recommend a 10% increase in that line item so that we can ensure those salary adjustments are considered.
Make that recommendation and see if the board's in support of it, but I'm not sure at this juncture that I would support it.
The line item, Ron, which line item is it?
It's,
On page 21 at the top.
21 at the top, oh, okay.
128,200.
Seems to me like that's a negotiation.
It is, that's, I mean, by contract, 120,000 is what is in there. Now, I'll also say that when there is a bit of an overage, as we've said before, in these very same conversations, we're pretty good about increasing it to make sure that we're fair with folks, but I wouldn't, outside of contract negotiations, I wouldn't just increase it, because that'll become the standard when we go to the table again. It's just, we're negotiating against ourselves. So I would leave it at 128, knowing that we are fair, and if it comes down to it, and they've been adversely affected, we're always willing to listen to, we're not gonna not pay somebody to offer office hours. If we approve the office hours, they're getting paid for them.
Yes. Past practice was, we set up the budget, but if Jesse ran out of money for office hours, he'd come to senior manager, we'd talk about it, and then.
Because they went
most
over
likely
like
fund it.
4,000 or 5,000 last
Yeah,
year, and we covered.
we did that.
Second question is on the following page 24, line item 76,100. Payment to student childcare, I believe. Says the amount in this, I feel like the amount in this line item seems a bit low. What does this line item cover?
This is through student services, and I don't know if.
This is a pass-through or through
CalWorks. CalWorks.
Thank
We
you.
provide childcare to students that, first of all, qualify, but then also take it. A lot of times they don't take it through us, they take it through the county, but we serve as a pass-through for that, through our CalWorks program.
Is this separate from what is paid to the childcare vendor? I believe it's a Hyde Park Preschool?
Yeah, yes, it's the
Is this-
same.
It's the same one? Oh, okay. That is all. Thank you.
Any other board members have questions about tentative budget?
Is this an action item, Ron?
Yes, it is.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2026, 2027 tentative budget for all funds requiring a budget.
I would move for approval of tentative budget 26-27.
Motion by trustee Nunes, seconded by trustee Lane. Any further discussion? Comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is educational protection account requirements for the 2026-2027 fiscal year, resolution 2026-4. Mr. Perez.
Great, thank you. Again, this is a requirement that we take to the board. This is approved in 2012 through Prop 30, an increase of our sales tax statewide. Of the increase of sales tax, community colleges get about 11% of that. Again, it's additional, and you just saw it was 14 million that was on our apportionment document. One of the criteria is we do not spend it on administrative salaries or overhead. It has to be used 100% on instructional salaries, instructional support. Again, that's the cover sheet, the resolution, and then small. We'll know next month. We'll blow these things up. Again, showing that our estimated revenue for EPA is 14.8, and we're saying it's all being spent on instructional salaries and benefits, so the district's in compliance with using EPA funds. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions on this item as it's up for your approval for resolution 2026-04.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of resolution 26-04.
I second.
Motion by trustee Newton, seconded by trustee Diaz. Any further discussion? Any comments? With that, I'll instruct Ms. Cochran to issue a roll call vote.
Trustee Nunes?
Aye.
Trustee Diaz?
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar?
Aye.
Trustee Lane?
Aye.
Trustee Macarena?
It's item 10, interfund district loan resolution number 2026-05.
So this is normal that we do, all districts do. take to to the board that in the event that we have a cash shortage and we need to borrow from another fund, by you giving us the blanket approval, we can work with the county to saying we want to borrow from certain funds, which you see on page 15 of your budget book, until we get our apportionment revenue from the state. Question you might ask is when we done this last time? We haven't done it in my tenure here. I don't know if we ever have done it. No. Again, this is just safekeeping. If we needed it, we couldn't wait for a month for a board meeting to get your approval because we have folks to pay and all that stuff. So again, this is allowing us, if we have to borrow from these funds on page 15, that we're allowed to, but we'd have to repay them back. So with that, I'll happy to answer any questions on this one, but I'm seeking your approval for resolution 2026-05.
Can you give examples of how these funds could be used?
They're used for district operations. For example, say the state had a deferral and says, we can't pay you the 10 million. And we didn't have reserves. Say we didn't have reserves. We have reserves, so we're using reserves right now. We'd have to dip into these funds to pay our payroll and our vendors out there. Last we want to do is not be able to pay our employees. So again, we would borrow this, but then when the state pays back through our apportionment process, we repay back this fund. We'd make the fund whole. So that'd be an example, but we haven't done it in the history of COS that I know of.
Well, in 2012, our budget started the year at 44 million, and right off the bat, they took away 4 million. So then we're down to 40 million. And then they said, and we're not gonna be able to give you that 10 million of it for a year until, because we're gonna play some smoke and mirror games with the budget. So you're gonna have $30 million to fund what you used to fund $44 million. So there were times where payroll was really, really tight. Like we didn't have enough coming in from the state to make payroll, and we ended up figuring it out. But one of the things you want to have at your disposal is the opportunity to go and say, we're going to take $500,000 out of this reserve,
Capital
transfer
projects fund, for
yeah,
instance.
capital projects or something, and take it. And it just stops us from having to call the board members in 10 days before payroll, so the county will allow us to pay our employees. That's all. We haven't had to do it, but it's just it's something that all districts like to have in their back pocket in case the state is really slow with paying.
I would move that we approve resolution number 2026-05.
Second that?
Motion by trustee Aguilar, seconded by trustee Diaz. Any other discussion? Any other comments? I'll instruct Ms. Cochran to issue a roll call vote.
Trustee Aguilar?
Aye.
Trustee Diaz? Aye. Trustee Lane?
Aye.
Trustee Nunes?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Item 11, approval and transfer of 2026-2027 unrestricted general funds, resolution number 2026-6. Mr. Perez.
Thank you. So this is page 16 of your budget book, number 6, unrestricted general fund transfer to capital projects, $5 million. Again, you heard me talk earlier that the state has done away with deferred maintenance. This year we're getting a 1.2 one time. We have things that we have to do here. For example, the plan that we want to use this $5 million for is the Hanford campus, food services. You ever been to the food services in Hanford campus? I know, I'm looking at Michelle. They operate out of a closet. Facilities has done a great thing to make it, but it's not serving our students. It's not serving our staff. So we have plans, working with Michelle and Byron, to get a modular food services that go side by side with the new science building. Because you get the science building, you get a lot more students. So again, and also the food pantry. The food pantry's in a hallway. So we're looking at a closet as well. Hallway closet. So we're trying to do some good things over at Hanford with this one-time money. So again, that will be for food services building, a food truck that Zach will be doing, same as what we have in Tulare. If you haven't seen that food truck, that's very popular with the CTE students and other students there. So that's 2.1 or 2 million. EV, we've been talking about EV now for a few years. I've seen a lot of Teslas around here, and I think we're going to be doing EV in the ESS lot here, maybe in the summer or very soon, or we're looking at doing that district-wide, EV charging stations. So again, about $500,000 for EV charging stations for the first phase, and see how that works.
Does that generate revenue at all?
Yes, it is. So district police and facilities will be working together to work on that program. Again, it will be generating. And then photovoltaic, carport solar. As you know, our electric rates, not only our health insurance has gone up, our electric rates are going up. And they're changing the rates for on-peak demand certain times of days. I think they've gone up over 100%, right? Our rates. So we're looking at maybe a photovoltaic carport solar over in lot, is that 4? Lot 4 on the east side of the baseball field, not the west side. We don't want baseballs hitting our PV. But again, 2.5, you know, I say that's a lot, but right now there's a 40% rebate. If we get it done on time, we're going to get back $1 million of our initial 2.5% budget. So again, these are placeholders on what we have planned that we'd like to do with the $5 million there. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any question you may have, but I'm seeking approval for resolution 2026-06.
No questions, I'll make the motion for resolution 2026-06.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Diaz, seconded by trustee Nunes. Any further discussion? Any other comments? With that, please issue a roll call vote.
Trustee Diaz? Aye. Trustee Nunes?
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar?
Aye.
Trustee Lane?
Aye.
Trustee Macareno?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Perfect, thank you.
I'd like to invite Mr. Bratch, approval of appointments of educational and classified administrators, resolution 2026-7.
In the community college system in California, the Ed Code permits managers to be employed of one of two ways. They can be employed by a multi-year contract, or they can be employed by a one-year appointment, which is not a written document. Practice at COS has been that our president and our vice presidents have been employed by a multi-year contract, whereas all the other managers are appointed for 1 year. But part of the provisions of appointing managers for 1 year is we need board approval every year, and that's why I'm here tonight. And that is to ask the board to formally approve resolution 2026-07, which would formally appoint some 50 managers to a 1 year appointment beginning on July 1st and ending in June 30th. So at this time, I'd ask the board to formally approve resolution 2026-07.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2026-07.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by trustee Diaz, seconded by trustee Aguilar. Any further discussion? Any comments? With that, we'll have a roll call vote.
Trustee Diaz? Aye. Trustee Aguilar?
Aye.
Trustee Lane?
Aye.
Trustee Nunes?
Aye.
Trustee Macareno?
Aye. Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Mr. Woods for item 13, 2028 to 2032 5-year construction plan.
Good evening. It is time for the annual submission of the district's 5-year construction plan. So some of this is new to you, of course, so I'll try to do my best to bring you up to speed on the process and everything that it entails in a timely manner here. We submit the district's 5-year construction plan on June 30th, no later than June 30th every year through the online database called Fusion. That's at the Chancellor's office. And it's got our space inventory, everything about our facilities in there, as well as project proposals. And so as you can see in the agenda item, there's 3 different categories, 4 project categories. You have type A project, which is the life safety projects. You have modernization and growth. The difference between modernization and growth has to do with your assignable square footage on a project. So it's modernization, you are not increasing assignable square feet. Growth, of course, is. There is scoring metrics involved as we put together the project proposals. The initial project proposal, that is the very initial submission of the project itself. It's about a 2-page document. There are no plans involved. It's mainly a narrative with a rough cost estimate based on a very generalized scope of work. Once that is approved, it can then be resubmitted the following year as a final project proposal in FPP. So let's go ahead and go to the third page, Kenneth. Thank you so much. So these are the 4 projects we have submitting, that we will be submitting here on the 5-year plan for 2028 through 2032. Oh, back up real quick. The state's always planning 2 years ahead. So that's why we are planning right now for the funding of these projects in 2028, starting in 2028. So our number 1 project on the priority list here is the science building for Hanford. We've talked about it a couple times already this evening. As a new 2-story instructional building. For scale purposes, I consider it about a 2-story version of the education or public safety building that exists out there in Hanford right now. It will be located in the southeastern quadrant of the campus, kind of overlooking the quad. And it was approved, the FPP was approved last year. It's been included in the governor's budget for next year. And so assuming we get our, assuming it stays in there and is funded in August, we will be looking at about a 4-year process for implementation of that project. So 2 years in design, plan development, bidding, award, and then the last 2 years of construction. That would take us to an occupied date of late fall 2030. Total cost right there, $67.1 million, about $57 million for construction. As we mentioned earlier, the district is on the hook for the 25% matching funds, as well as non-supportable FF&E, so your furniture, fixtures, and equipment. VP Perez also touched on that. As you can see, the orange text, that is the state dollar amount that they will pony up, $51.1 million. That's actually coming from Prop 2 funds, which were passed in November of '24 by the state voters. And that was $10 billion total, $8.5 billion for K-12, $1.5 billion for community colleges. So that is the science building project. Very exciting, very huge upgrade out there. It's going to be amazing, that building. Project number 2, performing arts modernization. That's here on the Visalia campus. Again, modernization, meaning we are not increasing the assignable square footage. We can increase the gross square footage of the building to meet, to comply with current building codes, larger restroom spaces, corridors, etc. But the assignable square footage must remain the same. So the plan is to demolish the Ponderosa building and the Sawtooth Theater, the music wing, and the backstage area, the lobby. We would most likely try to maintain the stage, the basement underneath, and the auditorium space itself. With that in mind, we submitted an IPP last year. The IPP was approved. We will submit a final project proposal this year, and pending state funding in 2028. If it does get funded, it would be, again, a 4-year process, 2 years design, 2 years construction. We'd be occupying fall of 2032. You can see the cost breakdown there, $47 million project. That one, $13 million for us, $34 by the state. And I mean, it'd be nice if there was still some funds left in the Prop 2 that they could throw at this to fund it, but who knows, it might be a future statewide higher ed bond there as well. Projects 3 and 4, University Center and Student Union, those are Measure C funded
Hey, Byron,
projects.
before, could I, on the demolishing of the Ponderosa
Yeah.
and the lecture hall that's there, would that lecture hall be replaced as part of the new
Yes.
construction of this project?
Yeah, so actually the plans, the final project proposal has a very diagrammatic set of plans. It digs into all the detailed project costs. And the idea is, yes, we would replicate the same size of Ponderosa, as well as another smaller black box theater, which we don't have on campus, which would really benefit the theater program.
There was discussion though that took consideration of demolishing the whole thing, and I remember it being like a $2 million difference. Of that.
Right, I have mentioned that. I'm glad you brought that up too. The state could come back and say, you know what, it doesn't make sense to just keep a little bit of it. It might be cheaper, or slightly, just a couple bucks more if we just demolish the whole thing and start from scratch. So that would be up to them, and that's actually a similar situation to the ESS building, when that was funded. Because that was a modernization, but we leveled 2 buildings and rebuilt a new building back in its place. So, yeah, it would be interesting to see how that unfolds with the state. University Center Student Union. University Center, you guys are both, everybody's well aware of these 2 projects. Everything going really well on site. University Center should be breaking ground. We were just taking out the final public utility line, I think last week or this week. We had just one AT&T line that was going right through the building footprint. It was the last one we had to get cleared. So we should be starting OverX here next week, I think, on the University Center. That's really exciting. You're going to see a big hole out there, moving a lot of dirt really quickly. So that's starting here in June with occupied date of summer 28. It's about a 2-year process, probably a little bit less. And then $45.5 million on the total project cost for University Center. $35.4 construction, all funded by Measure C. Number 4, the Student Union Project. You're familiar with that as well. New 2-story student services building, food services, student services. That'll be located just south of the Alta Peak building, the current cafeteria. So that's currently at DSA and plan review. So we are looking at bidding here probably in early July. July and August, hopefully, if everything goes well, take it to the board in September for award. And we need to be under construction as soon as possible. So we've got October. That is a 2-year build, and it's going to be a very tight timeline to try to open those doors for August of 28. We're going to do everything we possibly can. And I think a lot of the work that we've already done on the Promenade project is allowing us to expedite the construction quite a bit. So we're doing everything we can to get this built as fast as we can and successfully as we can.
Because if we can't move into the student union in June, first part of July of 2028, then we really have to wait until Christmas break, is that?
That's because of food services.
Yeah.
We have a lot of student workers, and we can't just pick up the operation and move it mid-semester. There's a lot of foot traffic in that building. That's not to say we can't slowly move in throughout the fall.
Right.
But that's worst case scenario, yes.
But that would push
And-
back your demolition of
Exactly.
the current cafeteria space as well, right?
Correct, yeah. So once we vacate Alta Peak, food services vacates it, we have to abate it, demolish it, and then come back with all the site improvements in the courtyard. So it's just all sequencing. The whole Measure C project's been a lot of sequencing, a lot of coordination. So the student union right there, we're hoping for fall of 28 occupy, current construction, or project cost, $42.1 million. Construction, we are hoping, we're looking right on target for a $32 million construction cost, all funded by Measure C. So that is the 5-year plan. We're proposing to submit that here at the end of the month. Any questions? If not, we're looking for approval.
Questions?
I would move that we approve the 28-32 5-year construction plan.
Motion by trustee Aguilar, seconded by trustee Lane. Any further discussion? Any comments? With that, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Woods. Next item, public hearing, energy conservation project and energy service contract.
Yeah,
I missed 14, sorry. Change order, Promenade Phase 1, Mr. Woods.
All right, so as you recall, in March, a couple months ago, we brought change order A to the board for approval. That had to do with project change order number 3, which was a significant electrical reroute. That's all been completed. And this is change order B. So this is covering the rest of the project change orders that we have, 1, 2, and 4. There's a breakdown in here of all 3 of those items, but I did want to highlight just a couple. The total amount of all 3 change orders cumulatively, there's a breakdown on the second page. Can I have it in line? Yeah, right there. There we go. So as you can see, change order A, $297,000 approved in March. Change order B is totaling $412,000. So of that $412,000, I highlighted just a couple items, 107 and 203. There was about, I would say, $172,000 associated with the rerouting of the primary water lines. So we've been working with Cal Water for months on rerouting all of their infrastructure. You gotta remember, it was a city block. We had water lines running through the streets, running through the alley. So Cal Water, what they did is they put together the design and engineering of the rerouting, gave us a quote for all of that, as well as the construction involved with installing the new and removal of the old. We got the price back, worked with the contractor. The contractor said, this seems really high. And we said, okay, well, let's get a cost from our subcontractors on site, and that's what we did, and as a result, we probably ended up saving at least $70,000 in that process. So that was, it seems like a lot of money, $172,000, but the savings was worth it. Put that money right back into the project. Another big ticket item on there was items 402 and 401 and 402. The Lot 7 solar carport project is currently under construction in Lot 7. That's new photovoltaic coverings out there. There is a component required by the code and by DSA for additional EV charging on site. So a certain percentage of spots have to be converted to EV. The location, we had already master planned the location of all these prior to any of this taking place. And the location of it is within the limits of the Promenade project. So it made sense to avoid any conflict. We used the subcontractors involved with the Promenade project to plumb in the infrastructure needed to support the EV charges, the charging stations. That's about $34,000. It's not a huge ticket, but again, it's a shift of work from one project to another. That does not include the actual installation of the stations. We are working with SCE on a Rule 29, which means they're going to drop in a whole new service, and we will be on the hook for installing all of those stations separately. So that's part of actually what VP Perez brought up, that $500,000 for EV chargers. That'll go towards this. That won't be paid for by the Measure C funds. The infrastructure will, but the units will not. And then the third, was it 403? This was probably the biggest unknown that we were faced with. And that was some significant soil pumping that took place. We had some heavy rains in like January and February. Came in, just pounded us, soaked the ground. The water, or the soil was saturated 6 feet deep near the roundabout. So in order for them to continue construction, we had to give the go-ahead, hog out, over-X all that saturated soil, lay down a geotech fabric, base rock, stabilize the soil, and then continue construction. So that ended up being $94,000. But we had about 4,000 square feet of soil that they had to, square feet, not cubic yards, square feet that they had to dig out. I don't know what the cubic yardage was. But so far on this whole project, that was probably the biggest unknown significant cost. Everything else is mainly a shift from different phases, whether it's the student union phase or university center phase, into the Promenade to make things smoother in the long run. And you'll see in all these change order 1, 2, and 4, I added some red text in there to indicate that shift in the work to make it clear for you. Any questions on change order B here tonight? If not, we'll seek approval.
Change order for the Promenade Phase 1.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by trustee Diaz, seconded by trustee Aguilar. Any further discussion? Any comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item is a public hearing, energy conservation project and energy service contract, resolution number 2026. I believe you'll introduce it and then we'll open it to public hearing.
Okay. So in front of you is a contract from SiteLogic, who is formerly known as Compass Energy Solutions. As you'll recall, that's the district's ESCO, energy services company, that we brought on board back in 2020. And they've coordinated a number of solar carports for us, Hanford, Tulare, and then the current one, Visalia. So in front of you is a contract for a new 111 kilowatt rooftop system, solar system on the Hospital Rock building here in Visalia. Back when that building was built, 25 years ago or so, there was a 79 kilowatt PV system on the roof. And about 5 years ago, the inverter went out. So the system's just been sitting up there not doing anything for us. We got a cost to replace that inverter, and it was over $100,000. And so we said, you know what, the panels are 20 years old. The inverter, the inverter's gonna cost us $100,000. Let's get a cost on putting a new system up there that's more efficient. And so that's what this quote is for. Just a couple weeks ago, we actually hired a contractor to go strip out the old system. And took all the equipment off, got rid of the old inverter. In the process, we've also, we're currently in the process of resealing the roof up there. If you think about it, we had the PV up there for so long, the roof is just falling apart. So we're doing the roofing right now, and it'll just be a clean slate for a new install, hopefully by this contract right here. So the contract here, 111 kilowatt solar rooftop system on the Hospital Rock building. Price is $636,000. This one is also eligible for the 40% tax credit. So the very last page shows you the cash flow breakdown. So at 40%, you're looking at about $254,000 credit. Net project cost would be about $381,000 and change. But over a 25-year period, we're looking at a net cost savings, I like to refer to it as cost avoidance, of almost $2.8 million. So it's a no-brainer. $380,000 right now gets us 2.8 savings over 25 years. If not, the roof sits empty, so might as well take advantage of it. It'll offset about 7% of the campus's current electricity expenses, and yeah, we'll get this going as soon as we can, seeking approval tonight on their contract for SiteLogic.
I'll open this up to a public hearing. Anyone like to comment or make any public comments during the public hearings segment? If not, I will now close the public hearing. And
With that being said, I would move for approval of Resolution 2026-08. Sounds like a win-win kind of thing, I suppose.
Second.
motion by trustee Nunes, seconded by trustee Lane. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Roll call.
Okay, roll call vote. Ms. Cochran, please.
Trustee Nunes?
Aye.
Trustee Lane?
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar?
Aye.
Trustee Diaz? Aye. Trustee Macarena?
Aye. Thank you very much. Last item, number 16, board policy, second read. Dr. Calvin.
Okay, I've got 8 BPs. We went through them last month. Happy to answer any questions you might have regarding 5120, 5130, 5205, 5300, 5420, 5570, 5700, and 5800.
I have a question in regards to BP 5300 student equity. What prompted the change going from that?
All that to this? Good question. It was a duplicate of what we had in our AP. You know, the BPs are just really straightforward like this and say that we shall have an AP on these items. And we just realized in going through them that it was just a duplicate. So our administrative procedure has all this that we've crossed out and more. Good question.
If there are no other questions, I will entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion by trustee Lane, seconded by trustee Aguilar. Any further discussion? Any comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Just for clarity, for item 11 for future agenda items, we have none today, but next month we definitely will have some, and if any come in within the request for 2 weeks prior to the board meeting. Just want to thank everyone for your time today. Thank you for sticking with us. A lot of great information, a lot of great things happening at COS. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.